everyone. Welcome to Court of Corvids. My name is Jake. This is definitely not the third time that we're doing this, but hey, you can hear us and it doesn't sound horrible, which is the two important most things. My name is Jake. I'm the GM. This is Moss's Epilogue. I am he, him, but I'll be playing a bunch of different random characters, so I'll be going by a bunch of different things. But let's go over to the important person, which is Moss, and because it's their epilogue.
My name is Molly McIsaac. I am she, her, as is Moss the Magnificent, who is a sorcerer, performer, elf, lady who I love. And I'm across the internet as Molly McIsaac.
Awesome. So you have been spending a bunch of time with Scott, Herring, and Onion at the caravan. I imagine you weren't staying in town at all, were you? You were probably outside.
Yeah. But I do go into town to perform without an invitation at like every tavern and town square.
So it's another morning. Scott has gotten up pretty early, gone out, chopped the wood that is needed for the day, comes in, sets the fire up, starts cooking breakfast. When you about wake up?
Every morning, Moss looks like an absolute mess. It's just part of the course for having this much elfy hair. And she stumbles out of the caravan with her eyes half lidded, drawn by the smell of whatever delightful thing Scott is making for her. And she thinks to herself, wow, I've never been treated this well. I hate it. Just kidding. But she stumbles out and says, I was really hoping for more sleep, but whatever you're making smells so delectable.
Well, this is the start of our day. I've got some things planned for us today. So eat up. You're going to need your energy.
You plan things, but well, I mean, I was planning on going back to that tavern I got kicked out of last night and trying to perform again, but does it involve that?
No, it doesn't. Here's the thing. How long have we been, I don't know, whatever we are? How long have we been doing this?
Yeah, it's not like we need labels. I mean,
I'm not asking for one.
I have sort of a thing going on with the devil, you know that.
Yes. But I just realized that, neither one of us really know each other.
Well, to be fair here, Scott, it's because you are very, very, very guarded about your past. But, I mean, I'm an open book. I mean, I've been thinking about writing an autobiography for a while now. And perhaps this would... Wait. Are you suggesting that we have a conversation about our past? Can I take notes for myself?
Like, for your autobiography or about me?
I mean, perhaps both. I think that you would be a vital part of my autobiography, would you not?
I that has yet to be seen. I guess that's kind of up to both of us, right?
I suppose so. Yes, I understand what you're saying. There is certainly some missing intimacy. I mean, we have intimacy, but
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But I figure just eat up, and we'll have a day. You look around and you notice that Herring isn't there.
Where's Herring?
Herring is preparing some of today's activities.
Oh, well, this is just becoming more and more mysterious. And I'm not really sure I like surprises, but I trust you, Scott, perhaps more than most. So...
You love surprises. What are you even talking about?
Oh, well, it control freak nature, etc.
No, you like being the surprise, not being surprised yourself, I guess.
Accurate statement.
I think it will be a good day. We're going to have a really good day. And I think it will be easier for me to talk if the both of us kind of get out of our day-to-day rut of going to the bar and coming back. What do you say?
Oh, I mean, all right. We can do that.
So in front of you, there is a plate that has ham, which you guys don't have a pig. So like, but he has gone out, he has hunted boar and he has cut up some boar. He has some onion eggs on there, and he has prepared a pretty a decent meal.
Well, Scott, this is an incredible spread, and I mean, I'm worried about my figure, but
we'll walk it up.
No. It's fine. I mean, I don't know what Rome is, but that's fine. And as usual, you would be surprised by the voraciousness of Moss's appetite for food and drinks. So she immediately just starts shoveling into her face, and she's not delicate when she eats. She uses her hands, like she eats like a beast, and she's going for it. You can tell that somewhere in her past, she wasn't as refined as she wants people to think she is, but you can only really see this when she's like downing flagons of ale or eating. And so she's tearing ham off the bone and shoving eggs into her mouth, and it's actually quite alarming to witness.
Scott like equally goes in and starts devouring his breakfast with you. After a short bit, he gets up and he grabs a small hand axe that is in like a log, and he pulls it off, and he kind of sets it on his belt, and he goes, "Well, let's head out."
What sort of shoes should I wear? Should I wear fancy shoes, or should I wear like adventuring shoes?
Adventuring shoes.
All right. Just give me a moment. I have to coordinate my outfit. And by a moment, Moss means about half an hour. So she goes into the caravan and she comes out, and now her hair is smooth and in baubles. She's wearing this beautiful jewel-toned set of robes. She has a gown with some detailing on the front that's a royal blue color, and then she's wearing like a purple overrobe with big bell sleeves, and there's little moons and stars hanging off the ends of the sleeves. She has a whole stack of gold and silver jewelry on her neck, big earrings all along her ears. She's wearing a matching hat because she has these massive witch hats that match all of her outfits, and she looks pristine now as opposed to the beast that was just shoveling food into her mouth.
So after you get ready, you kind of catch at the glimpse of your eye, Scott is leaning over and is talking to someone or something behind a tree. And as soon as you kind of step out and make a little bit of noise, he stands up straight and he goes, "Oh, you ready?"
Yes, I am. Who are you speaking to? And even though she doesn't need it, Moss has become kind of accustomed to fighting, so she's got a hand on her wand holster just in case.
He says, "It will all become clear when we get there."
Well, this is very mysterious, Scott, and if you were anyone else, I would be holding you hostage right now and making Herring waterboard you for information.
Well, you can't do that when Herring's not here, can you?
Accurate statement. I mean, I've never tried it myself, but I could.
He reaches his hand out and doesn't says a single word and just kind of like does the give me your hand like motion of like, come on, let's go.
With just the utmost grace and pompousness, Moss places her hand very gently into his palm like she is a royal lady.
He kind of looks at your hand and just kind of like closes his grasp, and his large hands just kind of encompass your small hands. And he takes you by the hand, and the two of you start walking through the forest. And he goes, "So, where'd you grow up?"
Oh, well, we're just getting right into it now, aren't we? Where did you grow up, Scott?
I grew up on a farm. At least that's my first memory. I grew up on a farm. There was about 15 of us kids. Yeah, we were all adopted. All from different families, different heritages. We all came from all over the place. That's where I met Krug, actually.
Oh, that's why you're brothers, even though you look nothing alike. That makes sense to me now. So you were misfits who all came together.
Sort of. Krug and I have very different ideas of what that farm was really like and what happened after the farm.
Well, yes,
But
Krug calls it a cult.
no. That's Remy.
Oh, yes.
Krug doesn't think it's a cult.
Oh, yes, some sort of thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I came from a farm. I don't remember anything before the farm. I was adopted when I was fairly young. And I grew up on the farm. I'm one of the eldest that was on the farm. I was there the longest.
Were you used for manual labor? Is that why you're so extremely built? And Moss honks his arm muscles.
He smiles a little bit and he says, I mean, the only reason you have 15 kids on a farm is so that, the cows can get milked, the grain can get, taken care of. But the farm wasn't bad. The farm was great. There was nothing horrible about being on the farm. It was a life that I was prepared to live.
Well, I can tell you that I have never worked on a farm. In fact, I was raised in the palace.
Palace? So you were a princess, huh? Or were you what were you?
Well, something like that. I knew the princess.
Okay. So did you work at the castle?
Well, my parents did, and you see, but I was a very gifted child, and so I was given extreme attention, and the royal family particularly thought of me as a favorite. And you can tell as Moss is saying that she's getting actually very uncomfortable. She's kind of like starting to fidget. She kind of like closes in on herself. The very carefully curated past that she's made for herself is suddenly being challenged.
So after he kind of sees that, he understands very much that feeling. As the tail end of talking about the farm, he had very similar reactions. And he goes, well, we're at our first spot. And you see him take his axe and set it on the ground. You see him take his shirt off, and he starts to take his pants down, and he goes, oh, I didn't tell you. And he grabs a bunch of bushes and moves them over. And as he does that, you can start to hear quiet bubbling, as it is a natural hot spring that he has taken you to.
Oh, well, I was beginning to think that we were just going to have a frolic here in the woods with no preamble, which, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to, but very bold of you, Scott. But yes, this is nice. I've heard that these natural springs are delightful for skin care. And Moss very carefully takes her robes off very delicately, and surprisingly, for as performative as she is, she's very modest with her body, and she touches the spring with a toe and slides in.
Scott, when he gets in, he very specifically looks away until you can get into the water. He's seen you many a times, but he understands how you are.
Yes.
So the two of you are sitting in the hot spring. It's warming up. He moves next to you and puts his arm around you and says, so here's the uncomfortable thing. Krug and I, while we grew up at the farm together, something happened at the farm.
Oh, no, that doesn't sound good.
Not between us. Not between us. I was young. I was little. I don't remember exactly what happened or why it happened, but the farm wasn't a farm anymore. and they couldn't afford to keep all 15 of us. So we got sold.
Like slaves?
No. That's no. We were. They made sure that we were okay, I guess. But at the end of the day, we weren't a family. At least it feels like we weren't a family. I mean, who does that? Who adopts 15 kids and then gets rid of them?
At that, Moss, kind of her whole demeanor sort of softens, and she has a hard time making eye contact with people, but she actually looks right in Scott's eyes, and there's something maybe in her eyes that Scott hasn't seen before, which is actually disarmed honesty. And she says, well, actually, I really do understand how that feels. You see, I haven't seen my family, my parents, since I was very, very young, and I don't think they ever looked for me.
Why do you say that?
Well, I was raised in the palace, you see, but my parents, they worked in the palace. I was just a palace elf, and I caused a lot of problems for them. I was me. I performed, and I wanted to be above my station, and I befriended the children above my station. And you know, when you're a child, you don't know that that's wrong. You're just children, and I performed magic tricks and songs and dance, and everybody thought I was so delightful, as they always do. But one day I was caught using apples from the palace kitchen, and I wasn't supposed to have them. And my family, my parents, they were going to be punished for me having these apples. And rather than defend me, or I suppose take the blame, which I think is what parents are supposed to do, they let me be exiled. And they didn't hug me or kiss me goodbye. They just stood there stony-faced and watched me walk away, led by guards, by my little noodle arms. And I think I relate to that feeling. Why would they have a child if they just let me go so easily?
How old were you?
Little, like 11 or 12. You know, things in elf years, we slow down as we get older. But
yeah, no, I gotcha. Get a little hot in here. Is it just me?
Yes, yes, I would like to get out. I would like to keep walking. I would like to find herring or some ale or something. And the walls kind of go back up over Moss's eyes.
Scott gets up and walks out and grabs his pants, puts them on quickly, and then grabs your cloak and holds it out for you so that you can get in. He dries off a little bit and he grabs your hand and he says, all right, off to the next one. So far, so good?
I mean, I suppose that was good. That was a little nerve-wracking, but yes, let's continue.
The hot springs, not the conversations.
Oh, yes. Oh, the hot springs. Yes, my skin. Feel. And she holds her arm out. I am so soft now.
He takes it and he rubs his hand up and down your arm. He goes, very much so. And as he does that, he pulls your hand so that it pulls your body, and he pulls his hand backwards so it kind of pulls your body close to him, and he leans in and he just gives you a kiss.
Oh, well, you are certainly a romantic, Scott, says Moss after she pulls out of the kiss. Scott knows that Moss, as much as she is attracted to him, has a really hard time with genuine intimacy.
He Afterwards he continues to take your hand and walk further into the forest. He looks at you again, very. He's got a weight on his shoulders, and he looks at you and he says, "I think I'm going to talk to Krug about this."
About
not about you and me. No. I mean about what happened to him and I.
When you were both sold, you were sold separately?
Yeah.
And were you little too?
Yes.
Were the people who bought you, were they nice?
He opens his shirt up and he's got scars on his body, all mostly from fighting. He opens his shirt and he shows you right by his chest a very deep, what looks to be a wound that has healed but has never really healed correctly. I was trained to fight. Similar to Krug. Krug was trained to fight, but Krug was trained to fight in a monastery. He was told to keep peace and a center. I was taught to be angry. I was taught to fight with every ounce of my being, that everything I have will be the end of me. Any fight that I'm in will be the end of me. And that's why I fight the way I fight.
In a rare display of empathy, Moss takes Scott's hand and looks at him, and her eyes are clear and open again. And she says, well, Scott, you don't have to fight anymore, not with me.
I haven't fought since I left those walls.
I know, and if that's what you want to do, if you want to be my caravan man, that is absolutely your prerogative, and I support you in it.
I just he stops himself. He does definitely have something else to say, but it's just not time for him. Not yet, at least. He looks at you and says, we're almost there. We have one little stop and then one big stop. By now, this has been a few hours into the day.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes you down and he goes, Herring has prepared us a nice meal.
Ooh, is there ale?
There is absolutely ale.
Oh, good. I feel like these conversation topics would be a lot easier with ale for me.
As you make the clearing, you've been going uphill for a little bit, and as he reaches, as you both reach this top, there is a blanket that has been laid out with fruits and vegetables and wine and ale, all sitting there, overlooking the city on a hillside. It's an amazing view. And he goes, "This is all for you."
Scott, I'm going to be honest here that I've never been romanced like this before, and I'm not quite sure what to do with myself.
I think you're supposed to enjoy yourself.
Okay, I can try to do that. I don't.
He walks over and sits down on the blanket and starts to pick through and grabs a grape and starts eating it.
Moss is clearly uncomfortable. She doesn't know what to do when she's being the center of attention in a way that isn't almost making fun of herself or like performative. She doesn't know how to be the center of attention when it's just her. So there's just discomfort radiating off of her in waves. Like she sits down, she doesn't know how to sit properly, so she keeps shifting. Like she's very tense. She's like picks at the food and then puts it back down, and then she finally settles in just grabbing a flagon and dumping an enormous amount of ale in it and just downing it in one fell swoop.
So when you were let to be free, what did you do? Where did you go?
I mean, freedom is a funny word for that, isn't it? Freedom, my life, my family, what I knew, and the palace that I wanted to live in, the palace that I wanted to perform in. I didn't have anything. They threw me out with no money, no food. And as she's saying this is very clearly, Moss has not really ever talked about this before, so she's drinking a lot. She's drinking a lot. She doesn't know how to talk about this without being slightly intoxicated. And as she becomes more intoxicated, she starts to open up a little bit more. And there's a deep sadness that begins radiating off of her that she usually keeps very, very hidden. And you see, I was an orphan. I was a street urchin. I went to the closest place that I could, which was the streets and the alleyways, and there I was appreciated for performing, and many times I was laughed at, and people threw tomatoes at me, and the normal fare. But I was a child, and I was resilient, and I knew that I was to be great, and so I kept going. I sang, and I performed poetry and puppet shows and anything I could get my hands on, and I scraped by with the small amount of money that I could get, and along the way I met some goblins, and the goblins, they liked me. And maybe it was that our ears matched, but I don't know. They liked me, and I liked them, and they were the closest thing I felt to family, and that's eventually how I met Herring many years later. Herring is like a brother to me in a way. I think that people think that I take goblins in as some sort of power structure, but I don't. They're my friends. They're my family. When the elves in the palace didn't want me anymore, the goblins just saw me for what I was, and I appreciate that. And so that's what I did. I stayed with the goblins in a modest little hut, and I performed, and they helped me perform, and slowly but surely I went from being a little beggar child to, well, what I am now.
So you worked hard.
Well, I worked to survive. There's been this beast in me that perhaps it's spite. I've never much thought of it. But there's a beast in me that wants to go roaring back into that palace one day and show them what they cast out. And I wonder, why did my parents never look for me? I mean, I never looked for them, but I was a child. And perhaps if I went back and I was Moss the Magnificent, beloved by all, perhaps my parents would want me again. I mean, it's absurd to think of now.
But would you want that love, even if they gave it to you?
No. I would tell them that I don't remember who they are. Even though I would. And there's a hardness to Moss suddenly, a bitterness and anger inside of her. I wish just for 2 seconds that they could feel the pain and rejection that they put upon me.
They'll learn your name. They'll know it.
They know my name. Everyone knows my name, Scott.
You about ready?
Oh yes. I mean, I haven't eaten much, and she grabs something that's not ale, and shoves some cheese in her mouth in her voracious appetite way, which shows that she was definitely a palace elf, and washes
He goes.
it down with more ale.
He goes, good. You're going to need your energy for the next one.
I mean, this is certainly a level of sharing that I have never done before, so I don't know how much I can handle, but huzzah, let us go forth on this jolly quest.
He gets up and he grabs the corners of the blanket and pulls it up and ties the end off and puts it up in a tree, and he's like, when we come back, I'll grab it. So this way that animals don't get it.
For the bears.
Yeah. So he takes your hand again and starts walking into the forest.
And Moss is a little tipsy, but she's still standing and good.
He looks at you and says, now, before we get to the next place, I think it's important that I tell you something.
Oh, God, what are you going to tell me? That never is good.
You know how each town had like a group of leaders that like made sure that they didn't like argue and fight with each other?
Yes.
They were called the keepers.
Yes.
I was hired. I was bought by one of the keepers.
Scott, you're the enemy.
No. What? No.
I'm joking. It's a joke. I'm joking. She's only sort of joking.
He goes, there's a lot going on with the keepers. You've discovered that. You know that.
Yes, and I'm still deeply confused.
I was bought by a keeper. I was trained to fight. It's why I was the hero. Woo! And he kind of puts his hands up in the air as he says that.
Well, you're my hero.
Well, I was trained by people from over the wall.
Wait, so you knew?
Yeah. That's why I told you to go to it.
As much as I appreciate everything that's happened since we moved beyond the wall, like I have made true friendships and seen and done things that I never thought I would, I do at times miss the insulation that we used to have. I used to be famous and everyone knew my name, and here it's just an upward battle. I feel like I'm on the streets again. And I'm not blaming you for that, Scott. And I also just want to say that as much as I completely understand that being the hero and trained to be the hero and the poster child for it as such, perhaps was not great for you, at least it brought us together, because I, so famous as I was, could only be with you as famous as you are. And now, beyond the walls, we have, I suppose, now realized that we're both people, but our fame certainly entwined us at the beginning.
It did. Maybe this is enough sharing for the night. What do you think?
Well, no, I'm actually quite curious about this. You were trained by people beyond the wall. To what purpose? To go beyond the wall? To be a keeper?
I was supposed to guard the grove. I was supposed to kill you. I was supposed to kill me. I was supposed to kill anyone that interrupted, anyone that got close.
But of course you loved me at first sight and couldn't lay a hand on me.
As much as I love that would be the truth, I couldn't allow this to happen anymore. I couldn't allow them to do the things that they were doing. They were going to sacrifice her. They were going to kill her. I couldn't let them do that.
But to what end?
What do you mean to what end? Not let them kill Rose?
No. Why were they going to kill Rose?
They believe that their leader, the person that brings all of them together, who was banished and killed years ago, was born inside of her. And they believe that when they sacrificed her, it would release his immortal soul from her and allow him to take full form. I don't believe it, but I don't...
That all sounds very silly to me. But why don't you believe it? Why, if this is what you were trained to believe, what made you turn?
I didn't see anyone getting hurt before then. They would always sacrifice an effigy every year. That's what they would do. They would sacrifice an effigy to their leader, to their god, and I just thought, whatever. But this is the first time that they were going to kill someone.
Well, like we all do strange things for our gods, says Moss, thinking of Clokey.
But it wasn't for a god. It was for it. We're here. He points to a small door. We're here.
Well, Scott, I must say, with what you've been saying to me, I'm not quite sure I trust you. She's saying this teasingly, but there's a 10% honesty to this.
He puts his hand on the door and he goes boom, 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 and hits it 3 times. And you can hear a voice, very faint. Mas, 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 being screamed. You recognize it to being Herring's voice.
Herring!
Then you hear another voice. Mas, mas, why am I doing this shit? Mas, mas. They're calling for you.
Who's the other voice? Do I recognize it?
It's Clokey.
Yeah, it's Clokey. Okay. Okay, well, this is the fanfare that I have always desired. And Moss very confidently puts on her performer persona and steps through the door.
You open the door, and there is a makeshift stage that has been built. And right where the audience would be, there are these poorly made, nailed together wood figurines that fill up an audience. And you see Herring standing out there. And
it's so creepy.
Scott walks out there and sits next to Herring, and the two of them sit next to each other and go, "Sing something."
Oh, well, if you insist. It doesn't take much convincing. And you can see this incredible transformation in Moss when she's ready to perform. And she just went from being actually vulnerable for perhaps the first time in her life to being back to Moss the Magnificent. It's as if she grows 10 feet. And she steps forward. And in her eyes, she looks out at these creepy wooden audience members. And she sees them as an adoring crowd. She has this incredible just ability to be delusional. And it's like you're watching an anime and a magical girl steps on stage and magic sparkles around herself and her robes begin to billow. And she specifically looks at Clokey and like does like a very intense wink at him. And then she breaks into a song, and this is a song that she's never sung before. This is a song actually about the pain of her childhood, and it's very sad and it's very beautiful, and it's talking about loneliness and feeling displaced in the world. And she feels like this is a song that she's kept close to her heart since she was very young, that she's never performed for anyone, but she wants to give this gift to Scott because he has given her a gift of honesty today and given her the gift of allowing herself to be honest.
You perform your song in front of the audience, in front of Clokey, in front of Herring. Onions is perched up on top of one of the wood stick figures. And as you're singing and looking out over the stick figure audience, you see a shadow in the very back walk across the edge. And it comes into a little bit of light as it steps forward, and you see Asmodeus standing in the back, watching you perform.
There is a skip in Moss's heart. But she continues to perform, but her eyes fixate upon Asmodeus. And she tries to focus on Scott, but there's a certain level of just complete perplexion and excitement and fascination about why Asmodeus is there. And almost an insecurity as well, because this is a level of vulnerability that while she's certain he knows already about her, it feels strange to bare her soul to him.
He stands in the back and just nods and smiles, listening to you sing. At the end of your song, your eyes become a little bit blurry, as probably the first time in a while you're having legitimate tears fill up your eyes. Not performative crying, but you've released a piece of your soul. You've gotten a little bit of weight off of your shoulder as you see Scott and Herring start to throw little bits of flowers that they have picked up onto the stage. And that is where we're going to end this epilogue.
This is just a Moss therapy session. Wait, no, I wanted to talk to Asmodeus. How dare you?
You'll have plenty of time to talk to him. Well, I hope you enjoyed the epilogue.
I did. It's exciting because Moss is such a little self-centered bitch, but she does have some depth to her, so it was exciting to explore that finally.
I'm very excited to getting back to all of you being together, because I'm very excited to see how all of you are going to be like piecing different bits of information that each of you have gotten on your epilogues together.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see how that goes. Before we head off, do you want to say anything?
My name is anything? Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing a lot. Just, I've got that stupid freaking quarantine depression, which is not making me do anything except play Animal Crossing, which is literally all I've been doing for 2 months. But when I do things, I'm on the internet as Molly McIsaac across all boards, and there will be content coming someday. Probably actually very soon, since I'm getting baby chickens next week. There's going to be a lot of chicken content you guys can look forward to.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. My name is Jake. You can find me on Twitter at IndigoQT. This is the second of 3 epilogues. We've got Krug's epilogue coming up next, which we have hinted at very much so in both of the previous 2 epilogues. So
I'm so excited.
We'll see how Krug handles his epilogue. I have to say, I very much enjoyed this epilogue a lot. I enjoyed Jonas and Williams' epilogue too, but I like all of so far. No, I like all of the epilogues. They're really fun because I like being able to get like a little bit more information out of the individual characters and
Mhm.
players, and it like without having to feel like, oh, sorry, we're taking a bunch of time away from the 4 other people here, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyways, thank you so much, everyone, for dealing with our audio issues in the very beginning, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.